welcome to the aggressive life. You know, I've said this many, many times here. We're trying to be a bit of a different podcast. If you're just trying to do what everybody else is doing, you really don't need to exist. This podcast isn't about like interesting, cool ideas, though we do have some interesting, cool ideas. It's about movement. It's about pushing yourself to get up and go. Stop waiting for things. Stop waiting. And instead, try to improve things. Put the sweat in to make it happen. Today, we're going to talk with a guy who has put the sweat in, and it's created a bit of a cascade effect in his life. Kind of excited to get to know this guy a little bit today. I just met him for the first time just now. Harvey Lewis is endurance. He is get up and I got to go. He's a record-setting ultramarathon runner and adventurer. He routinely pushes himself to the limits. How would he push himself to the limits? Well, putting one foot in front of the other. We could spend the rest of our time going through his race highlights, Badwater Ultramarathon in Death Valley, Big Dog Backyard Ultra, a race that has no finish. This has got to be the sickest thing I've ever read about. No finish, a 4-mile course. The first person to stop loses. The last person to stop wins. He completed 85 laps, 354 mile, you sick wacko you. This year, Harvey took part in the world-famous Barkley Marathons, which I highly recommend as a documentary, which I've seen before. It's the hardest ultra marathon in the world. Only 15 runners have ever finished, and he'll fill us in on how he done. I could just go on the who's who thing of all the things he's done. He's actually here in my hometown in Cincinnati. He teaches at the Creative Center for Performing Arts. Harvey Lewis.
Wow. Hey, it's so awesome to be here, Brian. Thank you for that amazing introduction, and it's great to share the same hometown.
Yeah, man, it sure is. So you come in, you got the classic ultra marathoner physique. You were lean, mean, and ready to run like right now. Like what's your body fat?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, as ultra runners, we don't want to have like a minimal body fat because we actually like really use that reserve when we're going up more than 100 miles. So you don't really think that much about it. I never even check it, but. Yeah, I wasn't always built this way. It's just been like crafting and polishing the craft for years and decades. I mean, I was actually more like, if you've seen the film Goonies, I was like Chunk in Goonies when I was growing up.
Really?
Yeah, and I've just kind of been chipping away at it for years and years, and it's incredible because this last year, after 25 years of ultra running, was my by far best year of ultra running my whole entire life. You know, it's just really kind of cool that you can do something like that where if I were to put my 20-year-old self next to my 45-year-old self, my 45-year-old self would just destroy my 20-year-old self.
That's
so it's
wild.
Kind of wild how that's even possible.
Well, you talked about just chipping away at it. I just got done listening to a podcast on metabolism, which actually bummed me out. Sometimes you hear the latest on science and you just don't like what science says. And what it said, this researcher said, is that there's nothing we can do to control our metabolism. Nothing. And in fact, you can work out all you want and you'll burn calories while you work out. But if you really want to lose weight, it's got to be through your diet and or very long-term incremental changes to where when we trick our metabolism. Because if you just jack up your metabolism or jack up your exercise rate, your metabolism says, oh, folks, we're burning too many calories. Let's slow it down. I was like, wow, that's why people, according to research, like on Greatest Loser, they lose all this weight, but their metabolism says, aha, I gotcha. It's got to be long, sustainable changes. So that's basically you're saying.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I definitely don't approach things with like a fatalist mindset. My mindset is always that we have power over our experiences.
So when did you start on this? Like, when did you just like start running recreationally and say, oh, I want to do a 10K, oh, I want to do a marathon, or what? What was the progression like?
Yeah, well, it really kind of started back in middle school. In high school, I just went out and I ran. I was running to try and get ready for football, and I was so terrible in football. I was like on the third string, like defensive line, and but I kind of liked the idea of like the workout. Like I actually liked when the coach was like, "All right, guys, go do like umpteen laps." So I liked that aspect of pushing myself. And I found that like I wasn't as successful like in shorter events, but if it was something that took more like endurance, that I felt like, well, I could do better in it. But it just started. I jumped into the Cleveland Marathon when I was 15, like just on a whim. It was like 10 days before the race, and I told my mom, "Hey, I want to do this." And fortunately, she was agreeable to it. And so I jumped into that, and that kind of was like one
You just
place.
no train, just jumped into it.
I had run up to like 8 miles before in the past, so it was a difficult endeavor. But that laid the foundation, and then I did at age 20 my first ultramarathon, which is any race longer than a marathon, and it was a 24-hour race. And so in that race, my goal was to just keep going the whole time, whether it was walking or running, and I ended up finishing with like 81.25 miles. And then the wild thing is just in 2019, I was representing the Team USA in the World Championship of the 24-hour race.
Wow.
And I ran over 160 miles in 24 hours. So it was like kind of neat that I almost doubled what I did at 20 when I was 43. And I feel like I still can get better at this, like, which is kind of amazing how you can do that sort of thing.
So what is it? I'll just speak for some of our listeners, and I'll speak for myself a few years ago. I don't necessarily believe this anymore, but dude, that's stupid ass. What the hell are you doing? Get a life. Come on, man. That is why would you do that?
It sounds stupid ass, probably for most. A lot of Americans feel that way, and I'm glad you said that because.
So tell us how we're stupid ass judging you, because we're judging you.
When I first went out to that race, I thought, man, this seems pretty stupid ass. What am I thinking? I would never do this race, but it is like an incredible experience because in our life today, we've gotten very comfortable with just having everything at our doorstep. So I mean, we are very comfortable. We live, we don't have to spend much time outdoors. Unfortunately, a lot of people maybe don't spend much time outdoors at all, and it's so good for our health to be outdoors. And the idea of pushing ourselves to be uncomfortable actually. For a little while, actually often makes that experience of being comfortable even more incredible. So, like, what I mean by that is, like, after I've been running for 100 miles, it's like if you're camping for 3 days, the food is just the most incredible food you've ever had in your whole life. And you get into this meditative state where you really get to peel back your layers and think about what is truly important to you in this world. So that's some of the stuff that happens when you're out there running for 24 hours around the lake, and you see like just the sun go up and go down, and you see the stars come out, and you're all this time moving. So it's incredible that we have reserves of power that most people are unaware of and don't tap into, but it's part of our DNA.
That's really good. So I'm hearing you say it's the holistic experience. It's not necessarily holistic thing what it does for your life, not necessarily just the 145-mile run. Though you do enjoy the 145-mile run, or how much of it is pain? Like on those ultra marathons, how much of it you're just dealing with pins up inside of your toenails kind of thing? Yeah.
Well, honestly, it's you condition your body so. You develop this resilience to a point where you really don't feel pain the same way, discomfort. So, if I'm running last summer, I was running the Badwater 135, and it's a 135-mile race in the hottest place on earth in California. It goes from the 282 feet below sea level to Mount Whitney portal, and in the last 1/3 of the race, I was feeling totally dehydrated a bit and just felt uncomfortable. But what was kind of remarkable about that is just working through that feeling of discomfort, and how you can go through that low and then getting more nutrition into my body and keeping a positive mindset, and then seeing the leader within grasp, like that could actually catch him, just sparked me. And then I had like this fighter jet fly over me, and I just was like in the center of a concert or something in terms of like the adrenaline. I just lit me up. I had no feeling of discomfort whatsoever. And I never take any painkillers while I'm running these races. Like, I rely on relaxation, like breathing, listening to music. In some races, I'm allowed to listen to music. In some races, you can't do that. But in like putting the positive words into my mind, I can dissociate like discomfort. But I don't run through like certain things. Like, I'm not gonna run through an injury per se. But
how old are you right now?
I'm 45.
So are injuries
for one
increasing?
more day?
Yeah. Oh, one more day.
All right.
Yes. Happy birthday to you. I'm gonna sing the whole thing for you.
No.
So 45, do you find that your injuries are increasing or not?
No, not at all. In fact, I have zero injuries whatsoever. I do have like some things that help me out a lot. Like, I have an active release therapy guy who's amazing, lives in town, Andy Shuttley. And I really believe if you have like someone who works on your body like that, like a sports massage or some physical therapist, you can really deal with a lot of the things that might come up. Listening to your body, rotating your shoes, your nutrition is really critical as well.
Rotating your shoes.
Yeah, just like, back in the day, I used to be kind of stubborn and just try to run the shoes to the very, like, bare, just run them for as many miles as humanly possible. And you can get more injuries if you don't rotate, buy new shoes.
Okay, buy new shoes, not have 3 shoes.
No, you could do that too. I mean, like, that's one strategy. But just getting new shoes is smart. I mean, like, it's like a car. Like, if you're going to invest, a lot of people think, oh, I need to get new tires on my car. But like, having like good shoes is really important. I have no issues. It's incredible. Yeah, like, it's wild to not have any injuries. But I do have to, care for myself, for sure.
Well, I was poking fun at you before for what you have done, and I know a lot of people like scratch their heads at it. But I don't necessarily anymore, because, the things that I've been learning over the last, I don't know, several years, 10 years or something like that, I've just become more and more in tune to the medicinal nature of our culture that numbs us out and doesn't want us to feel. And when I see now ultramarathoners, which I really have no interest in doing that for a variety of reasons, maybe we'll get into, but I really respect it, because I now see a guy who's trying to feel. You're trying to feel a burn. You're trying to feel a challenge. You mentioned you got to see sunrise, sunset. I mean, I look at it differently before, where I just thought this is somebody who has a vendetta for pain, and now I say, no, you're trying to feel. Yes, no. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Barkley race, for example, is the race I just did a month ago.
Yeah, let's talk about this. There's a thing on, was it Amazon or Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, Netflix.
Prime? It's on Amazon Prime?
There's 2 films. One, it goes back to 2012, and then another one that's Barkley, Where Dreams Go to Die. And both are really phenomenal films. Like, they actually have a great amount of humor in them, and you'll probably be entertained. But Laz is the race director, and some people think, well, this guy is like masochistic. Like, he's got this race that is just so crazy, because you have to climb the equivalent of Mount Everest twice and a little bit more than that in 60 hours if you survive, and you got to descend that amount. And you have to do this in the Tennessee mountains. It's in Frozen Head State Park, which in early March, mid-March is it can be nice in the daytime. Sometimes you can get snow, but a lot of times it's right at 33 degrees and rain, like just incredible rain. And it's really a tough race. So, I mean, you have to go through all kinds of obstacles. And, for me, it's like...
And how many people have started and how many people finished this race?
Only 40 people started every year. No one has finished in the last 5 years.
Wow.
So this year we had 40 people. Most of them the majority were from overseas.
I'll stop right there. Only 40, so they cut it off at 40?
Yeah, that's like the tradition. It's like a race it goes back in
Who do they
86.
decide is in the most qualified, or just the people they like?
Laz chooses the people. It's based on serious qualification. And then also you have to you have to write a special essay to Laz asking or telling him why you think he should choose you, basically. And so I mean he could. There's actually one runner he typically chooses once a year that is considered the sacrificial lamb, and they have no reason to be there. So I thought maybe I might get that this year. Who knows? But I got to be in the race because I had won the biggest backyard, but I fell down probably 20 times because the mountains are so steep and you're not running on trails. You're actually running in this race off trail like 70% of the time. So I never think about pain or discomfort. I mean, I know some runners do, but for me, I just totally, that doesn't even factor into my thinking. I don't even think about it. It maybe for the first couple of days after the race happened this year and no one finished, I was I don't know if I really want to go back to that race just because you really do beat yourself up there. But I kind of forgot those memories and just remembered the pleasant memories of seeing the other runners and the woods and just the books. It's kind of exciting to find one of these books.
How far did you get then?
I got 1.5 laps, which is basically each lap is about a marathon.
Okay.
And it's 5 laps total. So if you don't make it in each lap in 12 hours, you basically cannot complete all 5 laps.
Okay.
So I another runner and I, we got to 1.5 laps in, and we couldn't find the book. There's these books that are hidden out in the wilderness that Laz gives you clues to get to, or the instructions, and they're marked on the map. But it was one we thought we knew, and we just couldn't find it.
Wow.
So, and then it was raining and 33 degrees, and we were both getting really chilled because we slowed down looking for this book. And so we just headed back to camp. And it still took us 3.5 hours to get back.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very difficult, journey, for sure.
So looking back on it, are you glad you did it? Are you upset that you didn't do better? Or are you patting yourself in the back that you actually went for it? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So Laz creates this. It's kind of fun because he creates something that's really nearly impossible to complete. So a lot of the runners, most of the runners who come are really successful runners who are used to winning or succeeding. So for us to not do even that great, I mean, maybe relative to our initial goal, it could be destroy you, maybe, because this is a big thing for a lot of runners. Our ultra runners, the Barkley race is one of the, but I was happy with the experience. I was happy that I got to go out there and at least I got to do a lap, and I learned a lot because everything about the race is very secretive. So I learned about how we train differently for the race, and I learned how to orienteer a bit. You have to find where these places are on the map, and I'd never had that skill before. So it really sharpened my mind for thinking that way because I've never had to really deal with that sort of thing out in the wild, and it's dark. And it's pouring rain and it's foggy and you got to find where you're going for the next spot. It's challenging. It's really challenging.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before.
It's really difficult.
Someone who does an ultra marathon has such amazing stick-to-itiveness that what you start, you always finish. And so to put you into a thing where people are not finishing, that's like a first. Right? What kind of job does that do on your self-esteem or on your outlook on life? Or is that why the guy has it? He's trying to bless people with the taste of failure.
Exactly. Yeah, Laz messes with us. So I fortunately have other big races this year that I'm excited for. So it didn't entirely, I'm a little disappointed for sure because I put 5 months of training into it. And I just I made some mistakes that I felt like I could have done better with. Like one was I didn't wear enough apparel. I didn't have enough like clothing in my backpack to deal with like 33 degrees and pouring rain. Like that's not that big of a deal. But if you're out there for like hours and hours and hours, and my gloves were inundated with like just soaking wet. And also just not taking a bearing. Like it was that simple. I should have taken a bearing when I was coming down the mountain. And I was just like going off of like, oh, I know this, I got this. So it's a learning lesson. And I think that's one of the great things about these ultras as well. Even doing something new, like the Barkley was totally new in a lot of ways for me. Having to do the orienteering and this amount of climbing is like challenging yourself. It can make you like be stronger, like overall, in dealing with other challenges in life.
So these experiences you have, this difficulty, this pain you put yourself through, this ability to be disciplined and do the same thing again and again, the ability to deal with droning on of the sameness over and over again. I'm just trying to put myself in my mind if I'm like an ultra marathon and the kind of stuff you have to experience and learn to overcome. How have you seen these practices, disciplines, experiences roll over into other parts of your life?
Yeah, I have a very calm temperament, like really all the time. Like it's really difficult to get me agitated. Like, I mean, I'm really laid back. And I mean, if I have a stressful day, I just go out for a run. It's like great therapy is free. And it's just, so that's been one way.
Hey, honey, I'll see you in about 10 hours.
Right.
I'm just going to go out for a run.
She might not be too happy about that one, for sure. It also influences my mindset. So, for example, like with teaching, I have a mindset that every single one of my students should be successful. I just expect that every single one of my students can learn and they may have like challenges like I had, but I believe that they all can succeed at whatever they want to pursue. So it kind of influences the way I look at people as well. And sometimes I see things that people can do that they don't see in themselves.
That's sweet. You mentioned you have other things that you do in life beyond this. Like, how do you have time for anything else, and what are these things?
Well, it can be challenging. I like one of my other big passions is traveling. My goal is to travel to all the countries in the world. I've been to 102 now. So I just came back from Cyprus last weekend, and I'm very happy that I can kind of like combine that with running and also with my teaching, because I oftentimes bring those experiences back into my classroom and share what I learned like from the countries I visit. So that's a neat thing. And adventures with all my family members and friends. My dad and I, we've done some really neat things. We do like canoeing trips up into the boundary waters of Minnesota, and we also had this adventure on the Appalachian Trail. So that was
tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically, my dad and he agreed to support me on the Appalachian Trail with a journey trying to get the fastest known time from Georgia to Maine. And basically, we went for the supported record, which meant that I was carrying very light gear every day, and I was sleeping in a electrician's van that a friend of ours that lent it in Cincinnati, and my dad would drive the van from point to point along the trail. And he was phenomenal. I mean, he would make like my oatmeal or make soup, so like pastas, all kinds of things, feed the runners and the hikers that were coming through the trail, as well as myself. And it was just a really special experience.
How long did it take you?
It took me just right under 50 days.
50 days.
Yeah.
Running from Georgia to Maine, the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it hiking as well. Like usually when you're going up the hill, you're hiking. And when you're going down the hill, you're trying to run, unless it's a super technical area. If it's a flat area, you're running. But yes, and it's very difficult. Like It's very mountainous. I mean, you basically climb the equivalent of Mount Everest every 3 days at that rate.
Really?
Yeah, about 10,000
I've
feet a
heard
day.
some of it is really intense, like boulders on all fours kind of stuff.
There is a couple little spots like that in the White Mountains. Like, it's beautiful in the White Mountains. It's really a treasure in our country, and it's really a special cultural experience because, I mean, the people that are going there and like
getting high and walking, it's your cultural experience.
They're getting natural high. And then the people that come out, like there's these trail angels that they come out and they actually give people like food and drinks along the route. It's pretty impressive, very impressive. Like just the community that's created there. I mean, it'd be actually a really neat place for you to go with when your camps that you organize.
Yeah. What's the record? How did you do with trying to beat the record?
Well, I did not get it. Okay. Yeah, I ended up with like I think the 8th fastest time at that time, and Joe String Bean had the record at that point.
String Bean?
Yes, String Bean.
That's his nickname or his little name?
That's his nickname. That's his trail name. And he in fact married another Cincinnatian, so he's based out, and now they're out of state. But yeah, it was just an incredible experience. This share with my father as well. It really pushed both of us, and seeing like how well he did at being like 79 and driving on these rural roads and having to find like the next like little intersection in the middle of nowhere in Maine. I mean, it's impressive.
Speaking of beans, you operate on a plant-based diet?
Yes.
Is that common for ultramarathoners?
I would say it's more common. Like there's a higher percentage, just like if you go to different states, you're going to find like a higher percentage of like plant-based, like on the coastlines or out in Colorado. But yeah, amongst ultra runners, it's not the majority by any means.
That's not the majority.
No, but there was definitely, I think maybe it's probably double the national like average at least, or maybe more than that. When I was in Cyprus, I ran into 2 other trail runners just in this going up Mount Olympus, and they both happened to be one was vegan, one was vegetarian, and they're the only other people I saw running out there. So it's like kind of a thing all around the world too, amongst trail runners. But with me, I find it's just my capacity to recover. We had mentioned like injuries. Like my capacity to recover is accelerated.
Interesting.
Yeah, just like the dairy has things in it that cause inflammation. And so like just getting more fresh foods in your body. And even if you move a little bit more that direction and you just try to get more colorful greens and fruits and vegetables and beans and nuts and all those things into your body, like it can do a lot of positive good for you. I have a friend in Cincinnati who you got to get him on the show. He's Mike Fremont. He's 100, just turned 100 last month, and he still runs 3 times a week, 5 miles, and he canoes or kayaks twice a week, and he can do like 15 pull-ups. Yeah, and he does all plant-based. Yeah, it's
I read an article about him a number of years ago.
Yeah,
that's stunning. What didn't stun me about him, the plant-based wasn't the thing that got me. What got me was that's a lot of pounding. Like that's why I stopped running a number of years ago. I was just losing all the discs in the bottom of my vertebrae. I stopped playing basketball, a lot of pounding. So I look at you and the gentleman you mentioned who's 100. I'm going, man, you just got to have superhuman discs in your back and your cartilage. You're not experiencing any breakdown in those areas.
No, in fact, I broke my neck in 2004 in a bad car wreck, and I have zero discomfort, zero. But it's really a whole like variety of things that are influential, like in terms of that. And I think what you're doing is really smart. Like it's better for you to like hike or find something active that you know that is going to work for you, that you have fun with, and it's not like battering you, you know. So that's really important.
Well, I think I have a similar muscle type to you in that when I was doing sports as a kid, I was never the fastest, never, ever, ever. But man, when it came to doing gassers at the end of practice, I was always in the top because endurance-wise, I'm really, really good. But bursts, I'm not that good. So I've been attracted to doing the long-distance thing. and I always had a goal of doing a marathon. But then when I saw my discs degenerating, I was like, all right, I'm going to have to give up on that goal. That's a bummer. That's the first time in my life I've aged out on something. And that was a number of years ago. But then this last year, I did a ruck challenge, which was, it was 27 miles and carrying, I don't know what I had on my back, probably a total of 35 pounds with plates and waters and all that kind of stuff. And, and it was cool. Glad I did it, but not saying I'm going to do it again, you know.
That's impressive. And did you feel a little bit of it?
No. The only place I felt it in my body was the bottom of my feet. They were just tore up.
That actually says a lot. Like, if you could do that, then how far did you go?
27 miles.
Well, you did a marathon.
I know. That's why I said. That's the reason I did it. I was just going, let me just check that box.
Right,
that's my marathon.
You didn't only do it, but you did it with carrying a big backpack. That's like, if you do that,
But that's the thing with rucking, though. You can walk carrying weight, and that's way less impact than the pounding like this.
It really depends. You're right in some ways, because being on a trail is a little softer than concrete, like for your body.
That's trail
true.
Maybe.
Yeah, the trail has made a difference. But like carrying all that weight, actually, if you could do that, like that opened up a whole lot of doors for you, because like if you can do that says a lot about what you could do actually if you had the right principles working for you.
It was about a week after that I was driving down in Tennessee. My truck broke down. I could see what it was. It was a radiator hose that had burst, and I needed to get someplace, get a radiator hose and get some radiator fluid. So I thought, I just need to get to the nearest place, and then I'll bum a ride back. It's literally on the highway, right? So I look at my phone and find out where it is, and it was, what was it? It was, I'm going to say 4 miles away. I'm going, I've been training for this ruck thing. I just did 16 miles on one of my training things. Like 4 miles, no problem. Let's just run it. So I ran it. I got there fine. It was no problem. I got there fine. Got a ride back. Everything worked out okay. But I'll tell you what, man, next few days, I was dying. Because it's different. It's just different. I don't know if it's different muscles or speed. Dude, I was not well.
Yeah,
concrete. You think that's what it was with the concrete.
It is. It's like you got to kind of gradually train yourself to condition yourself to being comfortable in that. Like otherwise, it puts a lot of pounding on your body. But your body can adapt. Yeah, that's a remarkable thing about us is that we have these adaptable machines that will like respond to like what you put into your mind and what you put out there. Like it will respond. So I mean, what I've created like over these 25 years is like the construction of like what I had in my mind, and like just it's just wild, like what you can do if you. I'm not genetically gifted in any means, and I promise you, I'm not. But what you put into your body and what you put out like in terms of like your training, it has an incredible amount of impact. Just incredible.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Athletic Greens. It's a product I use every day. I started taking AG1 because I don't watch my diet too closely, but I know that I'm getting all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients I can, as well as hydrating with 12 ounces of water right off the bat at the beginning of the day. One scoop of AG1 has got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens, and it doesn't taste like it. It actually tastes great. AG1 is a micro habit with big benefits. For less than $3 a day, you can take care of your health and invest in your future. It's recommended by professional athletes, health experts, and me. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/aggressive-life. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/aggressive-life to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance. So go get you some, and let's get back to the show. So you're kind of a big deal. You are a big deal. You're a big deal in the ultra marathon, ultra running world. And there's a lot of articles and interviews out there. And we've pulled some of your favorite quotes, or actually our favorite quotes. And I'm hoping you just unpack them for us a little bit. You're going to be our motivational guru here today, because maybe not many of us are going to be motivated to do ultra marathons or marathons, but I think these quotes are really strong and apply to a lot of stuff in life. So here we go. Here's one. Start with your why. What do you mean by that? Why?
Yeah. It's so important in life, like to find your conviction, like what it is that drives you, your purpose for doing it. Like if you do have that why, it can move you in ways that you can't even just quite imagine.
So the why for ultramarathoning for you is what?
I have to write a why statement on each of my A races. So it changes. Yeah, but it does change. Sometimes it could be like, well, I want to have a positive influence with my students. Like, so I want to come back and share this experience, and like I want to show to them that it's possible to do something that seems outrageous. So, for example, with Big's Backyard, like that was a world championship race. It was it's like a last standing person event. So each lap you must do 4.167 miles, and you keep doing that every hour on the hour. After a day, you get 100 miles. 2 days, you're at 200 miles. And you just keep going until finally everyone else gives up. And it was in my mind that I was going to be the last person. You know, I was just going to go until everyone else gave up. And so I had written down many why statements, and some are personal. One of them was to like come back and share that with my students and show them like, look, if you want it bad enough, you can do it. Also, just go after it.
The why. So I shouldn't do a marathon just because it's a goal of mine, unless maybe the why statement is I want to fulfill goals that I have. So have a specific why statement, not just this is good for me, I should do this.
Yeah. Sometimes we do things for raising money for charities. Like that's another nice one. So I went for the record from like the lowest to highest point in our nation over the pandemic. And there were no races happening. So I was like, well, at least I'm going to come up with this. We did it for City Gospel Mission. And like, I started this event like out in Death Valley, and it was in August. And at the start, like we had already exceeded what our goal was. And then like hearing how we were raising more money, like that really motivated me to not give up and to try harder. So I had a why.
Here's another one. Someone asked you if you like the exhaustion of ultra running, and you say, quote, yeah, I really do. It's like the buffet always tastes amazing after you've been in the wilderness camping for a week. It's like having some level of lows creates even larger highs. Blow that out for us.
Yeah, so a Coca-Cola never tasted so good. It's like at the end of one of these events.
Wait a minute. Coca-Cola doesn't come out of the ground?
Oh, yeah.
That's not a plant-based diet.
Oh, it's pretty
Hypocrites.
Well, that sugar is pretty good. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest drinking that all the time. But after a race or during the race, when you're running that far, it's like jet fuel. It's pretty good to have. It just means that, really like in life, like experiencing these events that kind of push you, and you could find other things. You don't have to do an ultra marathon to do that, but finding things that challenge you and push you, it makes you appreciate the rest of life even greater.
You also say this, last one. I just learned really with everything, it's a matter of how much pressure or effort you're willing to give to make it happen. This is why I think I'm drawn to what you're doing. I'm just thinking, if you're dealing with that level of pressure and that level of discomfort, it's got to translate over into other areas of life. Yes?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't think about it much, but I'm patient. I think that's kind of teacher. So I've learned a lot being a teacher. It's helped me to be a better ultra marathoner, a better partner, and a better friend, a better son. I'm patient, and with being successful in these races, you have to be extremely patient. So, for example, the 24-hour race, this is a race I've gone from running 82 miles up to running over 160 miles, and you have to be patient with your pacing. Like in the start of one of those races, I may be like in 7th or 8th place, but in the national championship, I went from like 7th or 8th place up to finishing first, and it was because I was patient. Like the turtle story, the turtle wins the race. So patience is important.
We're going to do the lightning round. This is when I give you a topic and you like real fast, give me a real quick answer. Can you do it?
I hope so.
All right, here we go. Favorite place to run, Harvey?
Death Valley.
All right, let's just stop right there. Are you crazy? What about Death Valley? First of all, it's associated with death. Secondly, it's in a valley. What about that makes it your favorite place?
Yeah, it's just something spiritual about the place. It really is something special, and I don't know, like that. It's something that's inspired people for millennia. So in that place, you can look out and see for 50 miles, and it's just it has a special feel to it. It draws me in, and I go back there every year for an annual pilgrimage.
Oh, you do? Yeah. That's cool. Grand Canyon is like that for me. I get the Grand Canyon more than any other place in the country. It's fantastic. I'm going to be going out there in actually a few weeks. Look forward to it.
That's nice.
All right, let's go back to lightning.
Yeah.
Thing that gets you moving on days when you'd rather stay in bed?
Probably my students, yeah, or my principal. Miss Brown is waiting at the top of the stairs. Where are you, Mr. Lewis? Yeah.
Advice for first-time runners?
Just have fun. Like get out there. Whether you're hiking, you're gardening, you're biking, find something you enjoy and make it a routine. Like it's really powerful.
Most aggressive move you're making right now?
I'm trying to finish a Barkley Marathon, and there's only been 15 people have done it. And basically, I'm working on skills that I have very poor skill level at.
All right, let's pause the lightning round. Let's go to that one a little bit. Yeah. So you're assuming you're going to be invited back again?
I hope so. Yeah,
because bring those 40
right.
dudes.
Yeah, I would probably have to win the next Backyard Ultra in Tennessee in October to guarantee it. But I think I might have a shot to get back there. But my skill level when it comes to navigating is still pretty lousy. It's not bad, like relative to but in terms of what I need to have for that race. And also my ability for like running down steep hills is like, it's kind of crazy. Like you just have to run really fast down like areas that have no trail and just be fine with just crashing.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm working on that downhill running.
The Barkley thing, I thought that was just a really weird, quirky thing. But if a guy like you wants to go back at it again, it's got to be a top level thing for people in your line of work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people from Japan, from France, from all over the world that aspire to do this race as like the pinnacle of their running career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Music when you run, what do you listen to?
I love soundtracks. Like, I do like the old classic, like Rocky style music, but I also like things from like Lord of the Rings and music that kind of like really crescendos and like hits you. It inspires me. Yeah, when I'm out there. That's cool. Yeah,
I never thought about that. That would be a great workout track.
It is. It definitely inspires me.
Harvey, anything you want to talk about that I'm not asking you about?
I would just say to people, like, whatever it is that you kind of want to maybe pursue, like, go after it. I almost died in a car wreck back in 2004. And when I got out of the car, I climbed out of the car. It had flipped over. I was avoiding another car that spun out in front of me on the 4th of July. And when I was flipping over in that car, I thought, man, this might be it. I may be dead. And I wasn't planning to die today. So when I climbed out of that car, Oh, I was just like, wow, man, I cannot believe I survived that. Like, I tried to break the glass, and I couldn't kick it out. I ended up like crawling out the back of the car through the glass. And I just, like, when I got out of the car, I felt like, wow, I felt like I mean, if you want to make it, being a billionaire is not that. But I felt like I had everything in the world I ever needed. And I just felt grateful to be alive. So I was like, you got to take advantage of what you have. And I sometimes forget that. So, I mean, there's days and weeks where I forget, that experience, or I maybe like neglect that. But it just thinking about, we have this special moment, and we oftentimes we can take that for granted. But just finding what it is that we really want to make on this planet important to us is a powerful thing for all of us.
Harvey, you just got a great demeanor about you, man.
Thanks, man.
You have a fantastic countenance. Like you're very light.
Thanks.
And I could just sense it for the first moment I saw you, and just how you've talked today. You've been a really good dude to be with for an hour, and I love what God's doing in your life. It's really good stuff, man.
I appreciate that very much.
I thought that was my last question, but it isn't. I'm looking down at your wrist, your forearm. You got a lot of cuts on there.
I know. I look a little ridiculous.
Is that from the Barkley still, or what was that from?
I did get a lot of beat up from the Barkley. I still have some stuff on my knuckles. But that's actually from this last weekend, experimenting with this race I've never done before. It's a Rogaine 24-hour race where you basically like navigating through the woods in Tennessee, or not Tennessee, but this one was in Indiana.
The Rogaine race. So you're navigating through woods while you try to take drugs for your hair.
That's what it sounds like, because I had never heard of this, and that's the first thing I thought of too. So they have this entire subculture. It's like an entire sport of orienteering. In fact, there's orienteering in Cincinnati. And it's really quite fun. Like and I think you actually would really love it, because it really involves your mind even more, as well as your body, because you have to hike or run to these flags that are out there based on your map. And so you're using a compass and a map, and you're finding your way. And you have to use look at the squiggly lines, the topographical characteristics in order to help yourself navigate. And the reason I'm doing this, my teammate and I, we came in second, and he's a lot better racer than I was at this. He knows how to navigate. But the reason I'm doing this is solely to build skills for Barkley, so I can go back there and have a shot to possibly finish it, which I know it sounds ridiculous, but
no, it doesn't sound ridiculous at all.
It sounds a little ridiculous for people watching that, but I think it's part of the attraction.
Why do you think that sounds ridiculous? I think that sounds inspiring.
It's just that the probability, even if I put all these skills together, of me finishing Barkley may still be only 2 or 3%. That sounds
but
nice.
dude, you're going after a dream. You're prepping for a dream. How many of us are just tied into one foot in front of the other, monotony every day? The fact you're going, I got a goal I'm working towards, that's pretty sexy.
Thank you. I'm still trying. So, one of the things that Laz says is the Barkley will go on next year. The humans will be back, because we never give up. So, I mean, it's, but these are kind of small, worldly things right now. One of the things that's really also on my mind now is really my friend Igor, who's in Ukraine. So he lives in Kyiv, and he actually was a runner that finished second in Badwater this past year. And we had a really strong experience. Actually, he led the race all the way up until mile 108. And then when we hit mile 108, it was incredible. We actually were very sportsmanlike. He embraced, and he's because I had caught up to him, and he was kind of fading, but he's go get it. And he was just really positive, he and his teammate. And after that experience, we've kept in touch. So it's been challenging to hear about what he's going through as a civilian. He's been so brave, defending his city. He said everything he sends back is just such courageous words. So it's hard to
So
imagine.
he's one of the guys who just got in line, got a gun, and started firing at Russians.
Absolutely, yeah. He's like out there, and it's like that's not what he does for his profession, but he is 100% committed to protecting his city in Ukraine. And we exchange messages usually about once a week. I'll send him like something like today I took a picture of the Reds parade, and that we had like people with Ukrainian flags walking. It was really nice. So I'll send him something like that, and then that just kind of like getting that little message while he's in it's very he doesn't let me know how challenging it is, but I can only imagine how challenging it is having like bombs flying over your head. It's like so. All that stuff here seems very like. Yeah, it's what we're doing, but it's like thinking about what their experience over there is like a really serious like thing for not only Ukraine but the whole world.
Yes, true. Harvey, anything you want to do to advertise yourself? Anything if someone wants to follow up with you, read anything about you, follow you anywhere? Do you do that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I'm on social media, so if I'd love to have people follow the adventures or join in on opportunities. It's at Harvey Lewis Ultrarunner on Facebook and Instagram, and Harvey Lewis Runs on Twitter. And thank you so much for your time, like in doing the interview and all the kind things you said. I really appreciate it. It's great that we're in the same city.
That's what I said. You're just a good dude, man. You have a sense of levity and positivity, and it's a great counts about you. You shouldn't be thanking me. I'm thanking you that you came in here and gave us a great podcast. So, way to go, brother.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Hey, you may not start doing marathons tomorrow, but you know what you can do? You can start something. Yes, you can. You can start something. You might not finish a Barkley ever in your life, but you know what you can do? You can finish what you're in right now. Yes, you can. What is that? You need to finish the sales call. You need to finish your marriage. End it well. Over a 50-year time span, you need to finish the discipline with your kids. You need to finish the goal that you set on January 1st. Even if you've stopped it, get back in it. Man, finish. Put one foot in front of the other. I'm inspired by Harvey. I feel like a little bit of a girly man here right now, given the stuff he's doing. But let's take this as fuel and let's live the aggressive life that God has for you. Not Harvey's, not mine, for you. And we'll see you next time on The Aggressive Life. Hey, thanks for listening. For all things aggressive living, why don't you head over to briantome.com. Find my new book, Move, a guide to get up and go forward, as well as articles and much, much more. And no matter where you listen to podcasts, why don't you take a second and leave us a rating, leave us a review. It really, really helps us drive new listeners to the show. We want to help as many people as possible, just like we may have helped you. We want to help others. So why don't you help us out? And if you want to connect, find me on Instagram at Brian Tome. The Aggressive Life with Brian Tome is a production of Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio.